My starting 5 NBA players. I'm Tony. Welcome back to Street Ball Strategies.
Where the fight? Who the challenge? Look, tell me who want it? Who the baddest? Where the fight? Yeah.
In honor of the 2024 NBA season starting, I figured we'd make a fun video today, fun opinion video about who would be my starting 5 NBA players. Now, right up front, let me say, when we're talking about your starting 5 or your top 5 or whatever it may be, for me, when that question arises, I always think like, okay, but what do you mean when you say top 5 or starting 5? Like, I think you need to get specific as to what you're talking about, what you're asking. So for clarity, let me put it like this. When I say for this specific video, my starting 5, I mean throughout NBA history, and I'm not talking about wins, I'm not talking about championships, I'm not talking about like dominance. I'm not saying like, oh, I think these 5 players would be the best players who would be the most dominant, like if they were on a team and they were actually playing in the NBA in their primes, and like they would be the most dominant team of all time. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not my point of this particular video. My starting 5 in this case, for this scenario, for me, for fun, is who I think would be the most fun players to watch on a team. To start off with, of course, this is just an opinion video. It's just what I think. If you guys disagree, if you have different players in mind, that's perfectly fine with me. Just let me know down in the comments what you think and give me your rationale for why you got there, just like I'm about to give you mine. Not so that we can argue, of course, because I'm not going to argue with your opinion and what you think, just so that I understand where you're coming from. My natural basketball position is that of a pass-first point guard. So when we talk about the guard positions, that's probably going to be, I don't know, it's either going to be really easy or really difficult. So we'll leave the guards for the end. Let's start towards the basket and work our way out. When we're talking about, for this video, what center, what 5 would be the most fun to have like on the team and fun to watch, well, you could say maybe, I don't know, you could put Wilt Chamberlain in there, maybe a big tall guy, probably the most athletic guy in NBA history, sans maybe LeBron James, but definitely someone who is that size, that tall. You could throw Wilt in there. Obviously you got Kareem, obviously you got Mr. Russell, all of course who are worthy of being the starting center on any team. But for me, when we're talking about having fun and having a team wherein it's going to help the team be more fun to watch and give the team a fun personality, I think the easy answer for that, and it's clear to me, would be Shaquille O'Neal. But also I want to get a little bit more specific, because I don't just want, Shaq in his prime. What I would want, because that would probably be, the Lakers Shaq, I would probably rather have the Shaq that went to the Miami Heat with Dwayne Wade. I'd probably want that era Shaq. The Shaq that's not quite in his physical prime anymore, but now he's becoming more of an elder statesman in the league, and he still has, physical ability to, be a little bit of the Shaq of old, but he's also trying to teach and pass down the torch from himself to Dwayne Wade. It's that Shaq with that kind of starting to be an elder statesman who gets to be kind of confident and comfortable in his sort of goofy persona. It's that kind of Shaq that I would want on my team. The Shaq that was breakdancing against LeBron, or the Shaq that came out at the All-Star game with the Jabberwockies and was dancing for his entrance, or the Shaq that was in the All-Star game and it kissed Tracy McGrady on the cheek. Like, that's the kind of Shaq I would want on my team. The Shaq where he still has athletic ability, but he's more towards the end of it, and he's more becoming an elder statesman and becoming more and more comfortable being kind of the goofy Shaq who can still play, but is now wanting to be also an entertainer at the same time. Do you get the kind of team that I'm going for here? A team that can play, a team that's going to win, a team that can be successful but has fun doing it and looks fun is fun to watch as well. Which makes trying to choose a power forward that much more difficult because, you know, usually when you come to the power forwards, the best ones throughout NBA history, they're not meant, you know, they're not thought of as being like goofy, fun-loving kind of players. Like, no, they're the hard hat, you know, players who work really hard and are very serious, and thus because of that are as successful as they are. They're not known for being silly and goofy. Power forwards are notorious for going to work, getting the job done, playing really hard. So when you come to, like, you know, like the Tim Duncan's, like the argument that he's the best power forward of all time, which could very well be true, it's like, okay, he is the best, but it's not like he's fun and entertaining to watch. So you have players like Tim Duncan and Karl Malone and, you know, these hard working, you know, hard hat wearing guys. How would they fit on my kind of fun loving, fun to watch kind of team? Even if I were to include players like Kevin Durant, who I'm definitely not counting out, it's just that, like, he gets the job done. He's one of the best players of all time, but is he fun, entertaining kind of to watch? I mean, yes, in an aspect because of how good he is, of course, but is he like fun and goofy on the court and like fun to watch in that aspect? Not to me, not really. I think for me, the closest I can think of getting to that kind of persona who's fun to watch but also gets the job done for me would be Dennis Rodman. Now, the reason I say Dennis Rodman is because of his effort, his energy. To me, that's fun to watch. The way he would put his body on the line for rebounds and loose balls over and over and over again. How clearly, you know, being successful at doing that, how much it meant to him and how, you know, he physically proved it on every play. To me, that's so much fun to watch. The way he would play, the way he'd put himself on the line. I can't think of another forward in history that plays that way with that much determination and effort, so I would put Dennis Rodman at my starting power forward. And then when it comes to the small forward spot, the easy, obvious answer would be to say LeBron James. And as I've stated many times on this channel, I'm not really a LeBron James guy. I'm not for him, but I'm also certainly not against him. I recognize that he's one of the best players of all time, maybe top 2, top 3, maybe the best to ever play, very possibly so. He's just not my kind of player. I'm more of a Jordan guy. Nothing against LeBron, I'm just more of a Jordan guy. You could also make the argument that LeBron should be more of a point forward, and I completely would understand that as well. But when it comes to LeBron James, he's more of that hard hat, get the job done, you know, stat longevity kind of guy. And I say that with no disrespect. I say that with, you know, I'm not trying to take a shot at him in any way, shape, or form. I mean, that's all positive stuff. Longevity, endurance, stats. To me, that's all positive stuff. There's no shots being taken at LeBron James. But is he fun and entertaining to watch? Not really. Like, it's fun and entertaining how good he is, how skilled and talented he is. Of course, that's entertaining. But does he play basketball in a sort of showman kind of, you know, kind of way that like a Shaq would kind of play? To show off and have fun while he entertain the crowd while he's doing it? Not really. It's the same kind of thing with like this upcoming Super Bowl in 2025 when Kendrick Lamar is going to be the halftime entertainment. Like, he's no doubt an elite rapper, one of the best rappers in history, but is he fun? Does he make fun songs? Not really. Like, there's no doubting that he's one of the best. He's elite when it comes to rap, but is he fun? Does he make fun music? No, not really. Same thing with LeBron James. And when I think small forward and I think showman, entertainer, who's also capable of getting the job done and winning, to me, the easy answer that immediately comes to my brain is Larry Bird. Now, just like I would like the version of Dennis Rodman who would be in his, well, actually, with Dennis Rodman, it doesn't really matter because he was so sort of consistent physically throughout his career. With Rodman, it's like, as long as, the version of Rodman I would want would be whoever Rodman is at his physical peak and prime. I don't know what era, what team necessarily that is, but whatever Rodman that is, it's different with other players who kind of like with different teams and different teammates kind of play differently throughout their career. With Rodman, it was kind of like the same effort regardless of what team he was on. But when it comes to small forward and we're talking about Larry Bird, I want peak, physical condition, healthy Larry Bird. I want trash talking Larry Bird. I want the Larry Bird who won the three-point contest by showing up to the locker room before the three-point contest and asking everybody else who was going to come in second place. I want the Larry Bird who on the court would have a defender on him, tell the defender, here's what I'm about to do to you, do that exact thing to that player, and he did it so well, even though he wasn't that athletic, but he was that skilled and he was that talented and he was that determined that he could do exactly what he said he was going to do, and really the defender could do nothing about it. I want that trash talking Larry Bird. I want the Larry Bird who was fighting back and forth with Magic Johnson to get his NBA championships, because it would be fun and entertaining to me to see Larry Bird do that to the opponents and do that to his teammates as well. Like challenge them, talk trash to them, make them elevate themselves because of the trash that he's talking, and not only talking it but backing it up. I would love to see that. I would love to see a modern day Larry Bird talking that trash and backing it up. That would be so entertaining to me. So now that we've dealt with the front court, let's get into my personal favorite. Let's get into the back court. When it comes to shooting guard, I am going to go with the obvious choice of Michael Jordan. But I'm not choosing him for the obvious reasons. For this particular list, I don't care about the dominating Michael Jordan. I don't care about the championship winning Michael Jordan. I don't care about the team leading Michael Jordan. Not for this list. The Michael Jordan I want is a very particular specific one. So I want the Jordan that's like past the 80s, right? But prior to winning championships. I want the Jordan who was driven to win championships but wasn't there yet. Like at the end of the 80s, everybody was like, okay, we get it, Mike. You can score a ton of points, but can you win championships? When the mass media, like mainstream media, started posing that question, and it became like the main question, the main speculation of Michael Jordan, that's when he became focused and hungry and passionate about trying to win that first championship. That's the Michael Jordan I want. The hungry one, the one that hadn't won yet. The one who was still uber athletic but hadn't won any championships yet, who was hungry, passionate to do so. The main reason I want that Jordan is for the trick shots. To me, trick shot Jordan is the funnest Jordan to watch, because it's like once he started winning championships, it was kind of like cemented, like, okay, he's the top of the hill, he's the king of the hill, he's the best, he's the most successful, he's gonna lead his team to the championship. Like, we get that. Once he did it once or twice, it sort of became the standard, and because it was the standard, it kind of became predictable and thus boring. It's like, yeah, Michael Jordan is the man and he's gonna win, of course. It was prior to that, to me, that was the most entertaining to watch, because you didn't know for sure. You didn't know if he was gonna get there. You didn't know if he was gonna win. You didn't know if he was gonna live up to the hype. And because he was so passionate, hungry for championships, so focused, when he would go to the basket and try to make a layup, he would get hit, he would spin around, he would change hands, he would throw a layup over his head backwards, and he made many of those shots because to him they weren't trick shots. They were true, genuine, serious shot attempts that he was desperate to make. And I get it that in the 80s there were trick shots, and in the championship years there were trick shots, but to me, personally, the apex of the most fun version of Jordan to watch was the still super athletic Jordan who was hungry for his first championship. And then when we get to point guard, for me, the most sort of personal pick, when we're talking about showman and most fun to watch point guard, I want a point guard who is mostly known for their passing, right? Throwing fancy kind of fun passes that most other guards can't make. So I guess you could do like a Jason Williams, right? Back in the day, white chocolate, even though he could score a lot, but he was also known for a lot of his fancy passes. And when it comes to pass first point guards, how could I not consider the most successful, effective players like John Stockton and Jason Kidd, and maybe even an up-tempo guy like Steve Nash, even though I don't think he'd go very well with even a prime, young Shaquille O'Neal on a team. But if we're talking about showmen having fun, being fun to watch, I think the easy answer for me would be Magic Johnson. And in terms of like getting specific about the era or version of Magic Johnson I would want, I think it's kind of similar to Dennis Rodman in that respect, where like they were both so consistent throughout their careers, it doesn't really matter what version or era you get of them. But if I were trying to dial into, okay, what year, what era of Magic Johnson I would actually want, I would probably have to say like I would want Magic Johnson after he had won a couple of his championships, because that was when he started to really get comfortable with himself, with his game, with his teammates, with his system, with Pat Riley. He really started to be able to see the floor, understand it, get even more better passes, intricate passes to his teammates, and he was having fun doing it because he was in the midst of competing back and forth with Larry Bird for championships. That's the version of Magic Johnson I would want on my starting point guard. The one that has fun, the one that's seasoned enough to start to really see and understand the court, and is an uber competitor against someone he has to compete against, like Larry Bird. So that's my starting five: Shaq, Rodman, Bird, Jordan, and Magic. And again, we're not talking about winning, we're not talking about championships, we're not talking about dominance or dominating, we're not even talking about overall. This is a very specific application. Who do I think would make up the funnest team to watch? Like I said, this is an opinion video, this is an about me video, so if you guys disagree, which I'm sure you do, that's completely fine with me. I just want to know what you guys think. Let me know down in the comments, and explain to me, give me a rationale as to why, so we can understand. Not so that we can argue, because it's your opinion, you can think whatever you want, it's perfectly fine. Just let me know why you got to your conclusion. And if you do comment, make sure you hit that thanks button first, because not only does hitting that thanks button highlight all of your comments, making them stand out from any other comment, but when you hit that thanks button, it directly supports the channel. So for anyone that does hit that thanks button, know I genuinely appreciate it. As always, like, share, comment, like I said, make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever any video goes live on this channel. And until then, see you guys next week.
I want it more, I want a chore, I want to work, it gotta work. I'm not worried about who didn't had it, I got it first. At the top you find explosive or tsunami. I can't sit and watch, this that perfect timing.